Are you connecting all the dots on the journey to your inner wisdom? Are you looking for a fresh perspective on the messages you've been asking for?
So who doesn't want to be happier, healthier, wealthier, and wiser, and be able to make life's choices with confidence because they finally see the signs? We know you do.
I'm Angela Coulter.
And I'm Sarah Sieg Avignoni.
We're two conscious journeyers dedicated to turning over those rocks and helping you on your personal intuitive sleuthing mission of evolution in our multi-dimensional hologram.
And that includes Earth too.
Yes, it does. Welcome to Solving Me, our conscious puzzle-solving podcast, where we look at the natural relation between your life experiences and their meaning in the bigger picture, from the most mundane to the most overwhelming.
So what do we mean by all this? Well, have you ever thought that getting a flat tire and twisting your ankle could be related? And maybe a message about what's preventing you from getting that awesome, high-paying job you would love. Believe it or not, it's all connected.
Want to know more? Come on and let's get sleuthing. See what comes up in this episode, because it might just be about you. Welcome to episode 7. Today, we have our very first audience participation topic.
Yay! Our first follow-up subject.
Yes. And so this, in a way, it veers off from our first episode where we were talking about knees and legs and propulsion, right? Because we talked about knees, legs, and cars and getting to a big goal kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a little backstory because this is somebody I've known very well over a number of years. And the story spans a number of years, so I'll make it brief, but she basically had gotten to a place where her knees were really, really bad. And I remember, and this is, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe more than that now. So she was very young to have to get a double knee replacement, but I remember when she was considering getting it done, and she said, I know I can change this energetically. And I've tried everything. She came to me and a whole bunch of different kinds of practitioners and tried all kinds of stuff, did her own work. And I said, okay, well, in a case like this, what happens? When if you have something that's pervasive, no matter what you're doing, then really it's probably something that was put there by your expanded self, right? Because you knew you're going to have to use that as a crossroads in some way, shape, or form.
Exactly. You let it get to the point where no further.
Yes.
You must.
If you don't listen by here, this is your stop dead. This is it. Right.
This is your line in the sand.
Yes. So she had set that up for herself. And I said, here's the funny thing about consciousness. We can absolutely change anything. However, it's always to ask, is it for me to do this? Is it for me to do this?
Absolutely.
Not should I, because is an ego question, but is it for me to do this to help me on my journey or whatever? So she decided to go ahead and get the knee replacement. And that was when she and I actually started working together in this capacity. And I was guided to go over there and help her with meditation. And she started with meditation. And part of it was because she'd been getting messages to change her path for years. And she ignored it because she was like, no, I got to take care of this. No, I got to take care of this. I'm a widow. I have a young child. I have to make sure that we're, supported, and I've got to do this. And the voice is going, hey.
Exactly.
Knock, 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 knock.
Look this way. Look over here. Look over here.
Yes. And so she got the knee replacement. Well, and I said, well, you can just set it up so that it goes fabulously and that, everything heals really quickly. And that's what she did. And that's what happened.
And you can still get your messages, just not be in pain.
Yes, exactly. So she did all that. She started meditating. She started exploring. She had been exploring a lot of spiritual stuff over the years, but it was like sort of just in the background. Became more forefront with her because she couldn't do anything else for a while. And so since then, she has created a whole new direction for herself. And she's created a fabulous life. Her son's grown up and now she's remarried and she's got, financially comfortable. And she's like, I just want to I just want to play. And then what she's doing now is very comfortable to her and it makes decent money and she's got other stuff. But somewhere along the line, there was a message that started coming in going, okay, and now it's time for you to also do this. And she's like, oh, I'll get to that. I'll get to
In a
that
minute. In a minute.
in a minute. And so she started doing that over the past. This is enough. This is what we do. This is what we do, right?
And it's like, now it feels good right here. I'm comfortable right here. So as soon as I can choose to be uncomfortable again, I'll look at that. But right now, I'm going to just ignore you and do this again.
Because in the back of our minds, what happens is we think, oh, I spent all that time being uncomfortable. I just want to be comfortable now.
Right. Yeah. I just want to do this for a while. I just want to, whether it's in my highest and best, I just want to do this right now because I'm comfortable.
Right. And there's nothing, and she and I would talk about it and she'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm working on this. And so my guidance was not say anything, like, okay, she knows it's there. And so she's been doing all this stuff and other things have started to creep up. And she was getting some interesting little things where she was getting sick regularly, like enough to get taken out, like from her busy schedule and whatever to reflect. And then, she'd gotten away from reflecting for a little bit and got away from meditation and energy work. And then she's gotten back, but time has now gone on and it's been an extended period of time. And so now it's like this. Now, like, this is what the ego does. I love my life now. I love what I've created.
I love the comfort.
I love the comfort. I haven't had it in so long, or I've never had it. So I'm just going to enjoy it. I just want to go and do this. I just want to go and play, there's nothing wrong with that. However, there is a part of her that's yet to be fulfilled that I hear pinging out there going, but we wanted to do this too. Like, we wanted to do this too. Like, and this will really make our hearts sing, kind of thing. But it's uncomfortable because it means the ego has some stuff to, let go of. So talking to her last week, and she starts telling me a story about how she was out with her daughter-in-law and her grandchild, and she fell on a knee, one of the knees, and really hurt herself, like in the middle of an intersection. And she went to get up and she fell again twice.
Yeah.
And so then she goes and whatever goes on, and said she was in so much pain, and all she could think of was, oh my God, I screwed up my knee replacement, da 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 da. And then she's like, so then I should have sat it out, put ice on it. I didn't think she did something with ice or whatever. But then the next day she's like, yeah, I was feeling fine. I was feeling fine. And then she was in her office and went to reach over to do something and banged her knee on a metal filing cabinet in that same spot.
It's like, I'm going to hit you where it gets your attention.
And she said it hurt so bad. She cried for like 5 minutes. And I said, wow, how loud is that?
Are you listening yet?
Yes. And so, I said, have you looked at this though? Have you looked at, remember, because it's almost like your expanded self is trying to remind you. Remember what we had to do before? Remember?
Right.
Remember how we
been here. We've been here before. So let's back that truck up. And do you really want to do this again?
Because I can manage it if you really want to.
Right. You, and if you think back, you'll remember that I can do this easily.
So, let's talk about what we went and talked about in the first episode, right? So legs, knees.
Right. Moving forward. Propulsion. Point A to point B.
Getting to your goal.
Getting to your goal. Exactly.
So it's almost like in this case, her expanded self is saying, you think we've made it, because that's what we think. The ego goes, I've made it. I've made it.
I looked at my goal and I did that. Check.
Right.
Done. Marked off the list.
So this is how we problem solve with clients or whatever. And this is without even, well, I mean, after a while, we just become adept at listening to it, listening to the messages as we're having conversations, right? But I was like, okay, being that I saw that with her when she first did it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
Oh,
she,
yeah. You had a different memory than she did from being in it
yes,
instead of observing it.
right. And she openly admits about the whole thing. But I said to her, look at what you're doing to yourself again. So do you realize you're missing something, or you're purposely missing something?
Well, and because in that episode we talked about goals and looking at your goals, and it's like goals are not something you do once and you're done. Goals are in a constant state of flux and adjustment and reassessing and growing, changing. And if we set our direction set on a goal and we never check back in and we never think, oh, that might have changed, we're headed down that path and then the path disappears, or the path gets a lot harder,
Right.
or you aren't permitted to go on that path anymore.
Correct.
And so it's the, what is it you say? Is this for me right now?
Yes, this is for me right now, because it can change in 5 minutes, especially today.
Exactly.
So when we were talking about this, I said, okay, so let's stop. And we were talking in a professional capacity. I said, okay, so let's stop here, stop the conversation, and let's back up to where there was a Y in the road and you took one way and you ignored the other, and you thought, oh, I'll get back to that one later.
Huh.
And then the further you went down this one road, the more comfortable it became. And then you're like, I don't need to do that now. Look at how comfortable I am here.
Yep.
Except that was actually just another path to take that was inclusive, not exclusive, not this or that, but this and that.
Yes. Yes.
But that's the thing that would cause her to, or not cause her, but allow her to finally let go of things that she, issues with unworthiness and things like that, that she hides very well,
Right.
very well, and trust. Because it's very uncomfortable for her. It's not the kind of role that she's used to having professionally. Although when she's not thinking about it, it's very easy. But then,
well, it's natural to her.
yes, yes, and that's what I've told her many times. But I'm like, okay, so I don't know if it's specifically that, but it feels like it's something in that arena. So I said to her, her homework was to figure it out, to listen.
Right. Yes, because she has details that we aren't privy to, so it is personal to her. But the overarching message of is the continually assessing your goals and checking in. Am I still in alignment with my goals? Are my goals still in alignment with me? And is this for me to do right now?
Yeah. And I said to her, okay, well, look at what you've done. Look at what you've created, which is fabulous, right? You've gotten remarried, you're financially comfortable. Like, and actually that was not necessarily because of her getting married. It was just things all came together at the same time. So she made this beautiful symphony.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now she can, not worry about money anymore. And I said, look at this. You don't have to worry about money anymore. I said, you have a beautiful home. You have a great husband. And you have a career, you have a business of your own that's doing well.
Yep.
So you've done all that. I said, so now it's like this. Now you're saying to yourself, as guidance was telling me while we're having this conversation, I said, so now you're saying to yourself, okay, I don't have those drivers or that propulsion anymore.
That leaves a big vacuum.
And yet I still have this thing that I'm ignoring.
Yeah, well, that comes rushing in.
Yes. And so,
and gets louder quickly.
yes. And so you want to put all this time over here and just really go over here. And it's like, okay, but you have all this. It's all good. It's all good. Don't ignore this, because somehow, some way, it will feed into all of this other stuff.
Exactly.
You might not be able to see it today, but it'll make this all this other stuff like probably 100 times better when you address this other thing.
Yes.
And so that's how application of this actually works when we were looking at messages. You know, she literally was just telling me the story of what happened. Like, oh, you're not going to believe what happened, because it led up to that morning when I saw her and we were talking about it, where she had banged the knee and she had been crying for like 5 minutes because it hurt so bad. And she was like, oh, she's like, my leg is sore because of this. And then she's like, well, let me tell you what happened. And she was even telling me in like that context. And then I was just like, oh, but look at what you're laying in front of yourself. Like, did you get this message?
Right. Are you hearing what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're so the thing to look at here is we are in the habit so much of just getting to a place of thinking, oh, this happened to me. We fall into victim mode. Ugh, I can't believe this happened.
Yep.
Oh, that hurts so much. And she didn't even, and this is a conscious person who is consciously practicing in meditation and energy work and, you know, like doing this kind of inner work. And she still just originally blew it off, or she just didn't want to look at it because it was this uncomfortable.
Well, especially it's like, no, I've already looked at this. I've done this. I've looked at this and I've made this commitment and I've done really well with it. So that can't be it.
Correct. So then it's funny because I always laugh and say, you know, I'm just like that voice of your expanded self that just needs to like, you know, poke you with the pin, because I'm usually the one that says to her, so do you see what that's saying to you? Can you see that? Or do you need me to spell it out a little bit? So, because that's what we do. And we're adept at doing this, but you know, we do this to ourselves. Like sometimes we're like,
all the time.
Oh, this happened 5 times. Why is this happening? And then it was like it took the 4th or 5th time to say, oh, wait a second. Why is this happening over and over again? Instead of just complaining that it's been happening over and over again.
Well, okay. What am I saying to myself?
Yeah.
I keep doing this. So what am I saying?
Yeah.
Where am I tripping myself up after I've fallen 5 times?
That's another message right there, is that tripping yourself up.
Right.
Tripping yourself up and falling on the knee she replaced to remind her, excuse me, do you remember what we had to do here? Do you remember we had to replace these? Do you remember that? Do you want to have to do that again? And this is why we laugh about it. Somebody said to me the other day this week that they think it's really fun. They love coming to sessions with me. And the thing that took them a little bit of getting used to was my laughing in the middle of a session when they're telling me like some problem or some issue that's going on. And they said, but then I just realized that you just see things from a bigger picture. I'm like, well, because we're hilarious.
We are. We're that, you know, it's that reality TV show and we're sitting up in the booth, not being the actors. And it's hysterical what we put ourselves through.
Yes. And because we're so desperate to give ourselves a message. So that's your takeaway. That was a great, I asked, actually, we were talking about this and I said, okay, so we're, you know, doing, and she was all about listening to this new podcast. And then I said, you know, we're asking for submissions and, you know, like problems. And she goes, oh yeah, you can totally talk about this. And I was like, okay.
Absolutely.
Because
Perfect
it's
timing.
It's a great example. It's a great example. So look at that in your life. So this is an example for you to look at that's very specific. Look in your life, like what's weird that you feel victim to that's been coming up. That might be a reminder. You know, we've already had calls from people saying, oh my gosh, I listened to this episode at the exact right time. And it couldn't have been you were talking it was just like you're talking to me, because this is exactly what's been going on with me. So
every episode, there's going to be more and more of that.
Yes. So again, look at your life, what's going on. And if you want us to like take a look at it, send us an email. That's the awesome, fun part about it. So we can, you know, incorporate it into a future episode. So thank you for joining us and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to us on Solving Me. If you found this podcast helpful, make sure to subscribe so you get noticed every time we post a new episode.
And for a short time, we have a special bonus for you. Go to solvingme.net to download your free ebook, which outlines the next level of conscious solutions for your inner investigation.
Be sure to help us spread the word. Share us with others you know who want to solve the puzzles of their everyday life through the filter of expanded consciousness and have fun doing it.
One more thing. Do you have some puzzling life circumstances where you feel blocked and you'd like our take on what's going on? Send us your conscious puzzle at connect@solvingme.net, and maybe you'll be the topic of a future episode.
Until next time, happy sleuthing.